Don't start a business, I'm serious. If you're thinking about it, just don't. At least that's what I wish someone had told me 5 years ago. My name is Alvin, and this is the story of how my dream almost became my biggest nightmare. It all started with a simple idea. I loved coffee, and I noticed my local neighborhood didn't have a good, cozy coffee shop. You know, the kind of place where you can actually sit, work, and enjoy a fantastic cup of coffee. I had this vision in my head. Warm lighting, the smell of freshly ground beans, people chatting quietly, the gentle clink of ceramic mugs. It was perfect. I thought, I can do this. So I quit my stable, well-paying office job. My friends and family were supportive, but I could see the worry in their eyes. I didn't care. I was filled with passion and excitement. I was going to be my own boss. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. The first punch came from reality itself. Finding the right location was a battle. Every spot was either too expensive, in the wrong area, or needed a complete overhaul. I finally found a decent place, but the rent was sky high. I poured all my savings into the deposit in the first few months of rent, then came the renovations. What I thought would be a simple paint job turned into a full-blown construction project. There were plumbing issues, electrical problems, and hidden costs that popped up every single day. My budget, which I had planned so carefully, was completely destroyed within the first month. I started taking out loans. The dream was expensive, and I was paying for it with borrowed money. I remember lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding. The numbers just didn't add up. The excitement I once felt was replaced by a constant, heavy knot of anxiety in my stomach. I was alone in this. My friends, with their 9-to-5 jobs, couldn't really understand. They'd say things like, "Hang in there, you'll make it." But they didn't see the mountain of bills piling up on my desk. Somehow I pushed through and we finally opened. Grand opening day was amazing. The shop was full, friends and family came to celebrate, and for a moment, I felt that spark of magic again. I thought, this is it. The hard part is over. I was so wrong. The hard part was just beginning. The initial buzz faded after a few weeks. Suddenly, the shop was quiet. Some days, we'd have just a handful of customers. I was the first one in and the last one out. I was the barista, the cleaner, the accountant, the marketing manager, everything. I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week. I forgot what it felt like to have a weekend, to see my friends, to just relax. My entire life was this coffee shop. I was physically and mentally exhausted. The loneliness was the worst part. Being an entrepreneur sounds glamorous, but it's incredibly isolating. You're surrounded by problems that only you can solve. One night, after a particularly slow day, I was mopping the floor and I just broke down. I sat on the cold tiles and cried. I missed my old life. I missed the security of a paycheck. I missed having colleagues to talk to. I missed having the mental space to think about something, anything, other than my failing business. I was trapped. I had invested everything, my money, my time, my relationships into this dream, and it was failing. I felt like a complete and utter failure. That night was my rock bottom. I seriously considered just closing the doors and walking away, declaring bankruptcy. The shame was overwhelming. But as I sat there, a customer who had left her scarf behind came back. She saw me and asked if I was okay. I just shook my head. We ended up talking for almost an hour. She was also a small business owner. She told me about her own struggles, her own moments of despair. She said something that stuck with me. Passion gets you started, but discipline keeps you going. That conversation was a lifeline. It didn't magically solve my problems, but it made me feel less alone. It shifted my perspective. I realized I wasn't failing. I was learning, the hard way for sure, but I was learning. So, this is the part of the story where I tell you not to start a business, unless you are ready for the reality. Don't start a business fueled only by passion. Passion is a fire that can burn out quickly when things get tough. You need more. First, you need to be brutally honest with yourself about the numbers. Don't just create a business plan. Create a what if everything goes wrong plan. What if your sales are only 50% of your forecast? What if your biggest expense doubles? Run the numbers for the worst case scenario. If you can survive that on paper, you have a better chance in reality. Have at least 6 to 12 months of personal living expenses saved up, separate from your business capital. This is your survival fund. It allows you to make decisions for your business, not out of personal desperation. Second, you need to understand that you are not just selling a product or a service. You are running a business. I loved coffee, but I knew nothing about managing inventory, payroll, marketing analytics, or local tax laws. You must become a student of business, not just your craft. Read books, take online courses, find mentors. Spend as much time learning about business operations as you do on the thing you're passionate about. You can't just be the artist. You have to be the manager, the strategist, and the accountant, especially at the beginning. Third, and this is the most important part, you cannot do it alone. The lone wolf entrepreneur is a myth. You need a support system. Not just cheerleaders, but people who can give you honest advice. Find a mentor, someone who has been where you are. Join a community of other entrepreneurs, whether it's online or a local group. Share your struggles. Ask for help. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to guide you if you just ask. And don't sacrifice your mental health. Schedule time off, even if it's just for a few hours. See your friends. Go for a walk. Your business needs a healthy leader, and that leader is you. If you feel overwhelmed, talk to a professional. There's no shame in seeking help. It's a sign of strength. So, what happened to my coffee shop? Well, after that breakdown on the floor, I changed my approach. I started small. I cut down the menu to focus on high-profit items. I started hosting small community events like book clubs and open mic nights to bring people in. I got very smart with my marketing, focusing on local social media groups. I hired one part-time employee, which freed me up to work on the business instead of just in it. It wasn't an overnight success. It was a slow, painful, gradual climb. There were still bad days, but now there were good days too. I started seeing regulars, people who called my shop their second office. I started building the community I had originally dreamed of. Today, 5 years later, the coffee shop is profitable. It's not a huge success story you'd read about in magazines, but it's my success story. It's stable, it has a soul, and it's a real part of the neighborhood. I no longer work 16-hour days. I have a small team. I even take vacations. So, when I say don't start a business, what I really mean is don't start a business unprepared. Don't start a business thinking passion is enough. Don't do it if you aren't ready to face loneliness, fear, and the very real possibility of failure. But if you are willing to plan for the worst, to become a student of business, to build a support system, and to be disciplined when your passion fades, then and only then should you maybe, just maybe, consider starting a business. Because on the other side of all that struggle, you might just find something truly meaningful. Not just a business, but a better, stronger version of yourself. Thanks for listening to my story. If you're on a similar journey or thinking about starting one, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this helped, consider subscribing for more realistic talks about life and business. See you next time.